There's a male behavior that creates immediate discomfort in those who observe it. It can seem cold or even cruel, yet at the right level, it ignites something deep in female desire. This discomfort exists because most men confuse attraction with constant care, continuous presence, and infinite validation. The average man believes the more available he is, the safer he seems, and that is exactly where he loses everything. Desire is not born from excess. Desire is born from controlled absence. Robert Cialdini explained this through the principle of scarcity. What can be lost automatically becomes more valuable. The human brain responds less to what is guaranteed and more to what demands attention, choice, and emotional risk. In the field of attraction, this translates directly. When a man is always there, always ready, always validating, he communicates predictability. Predictability generates comfort. Comfort does not generate desire. Women do not fall in love with predictable comfort. They become involved with controlled emotional tension. Not the tension of chaos, drama, or instability, but the tension that comes from autonomy. The feeling that this man is not available out of need, but by decision. The female body responds to this before the mind can formulate any moral argument. It is chemistry, not discourse. It is sensation, not intention. What many call cruelty is, in fact, the strategic withdrawal of validation. It is not ignoring, punishing, or manipulating. It is not offering attention as a currency to buy acceptance. Most men avoid this behavior out of fear of seeming insensitive, out of fear of losing the chance, out of fear of being seen as someone who does not care. And that is exactly why they become disposable. Because when there is no risk of loss, there is no emotional investment. This video will not romanticize coldness or encourage empty games. It will explain why this principle works, what happens in the female brain when attention is withdrawn at the right moment, and how to apply it without destroying value, respect, or presence. What seems cruel at first glance is in reality a silent test of self-mastery. And when a man passes this test, the game changes, not because he did something extra, but because he stopped offering himself as something guaranteed. Topic 1. The trick. Withdrawing attention at the exact moment. The most common emotional mistake men make appears precisely when the connection begins to grow. He feels something good is happening and decides to double down. More messages, more presence, more explanations, more availability. The intention is to create a bond. But the effect is the opposite. Constant attention communicates anxiety. It communicates fear of loss. It communicates that the bond needs to be secured immediately. Desire cannot breathe where everything is delivered without resistance. Behavioral psychology has already explained why this happens. The principle of scarcity shows that what can be lost gains emotional weight. When attention is infinite, it stops being perceived as value. Continuous attention generates comfort, not desire. Comfort stabilizes. Desire needs movement. Desire needs tension. It needs the feeling that something is at stake. Withdrawing attention at the exact moment is not punishment. It is a repositioning of value. There is a break in expectation here that dismantles male conditioning. It is not being more intense that increases attraction. It is knowing when to stop. The magnetic man does not disappear into emptiness. He slows down after a peak of connection. He does not try to artificially sustain the high point. He allows absence to do the silent work that excessive presence destroys. This interval creates space for her mind to begin working on its own. Science confirms this effect. Research from the University of Virginia showed that moderate uncertainty increases emotional activation and romantic interest. The brain reacts to partial absence by releasing more attention and psychic energy, not because it is being manipulated, but because it seeks to resolve what was left open. When you withdraw attention at the right moment, you do not create pain. You create focus. Applying this requires emotional control, not emotional coldness. Producing initiative after peaks of connection without announcement and without drama. Maintaining your own rhythm in messages and meetings, even when excitement exists. Not explaining silence, not justifying absence. The man who does this communicates something powerful without saying a word. My attention is not infinite, and I do not distribute it on impulse. The signal reorganizes the dynamic. The woman stops receiving and begins seeking, not out of need, but because the emotional field has changed direction. The trick works because it is not isolated. It is an expression of self-control. When withdrawal comes from insecurity, it feels empty. When it comes from stability, it creates positive tension. The exact moment is not measured by rules, but by internal sensitivity. The man who masters this does not disappear to be noticed. He simply does not offer himself beyond what is necessary. At this point, attraction stops being comfortable and becomes alive. Topic 2. Why this seems cruel but is not. The discomfort arises because many men confuse emotional leadership with coldness. By withdrawing attention, they feel unfair, harsh, or manipulative. This feeling does not come from empathy. It comes from fear. Fear of losing approval. Fear of seeming insufficient. Fear that without constant effort, nothing will be sustained. Desire does not respond to fear. Desire responds to autonomy. When a man needs to prove he cares all the time, he does not lead the dynamic. He asks permission to exist within it. At the brain level, the explanation is simple. The female system associates emotional challenge with dopamine release. Dopamine is linked to motivation, focus, and anticipation. It is not suffering, it is stimulation. It is not chaos, it is variation. When everything is predictable, the brain enters economic mode. With controlled unpredictability, attention intensifies. Attraction grows because something wants to be resolved, felt, explored. Desire needs space to move. Here is the break few accept without resistance. Being predictable is more harmful than being intense. Intensity can be regulated. Predictability kills the game. Studies published in 2017 in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology confirmed this effect. Controlled unpredictability increases desire without creating threat. The man who withdraws attention consciously does not create abandonment. He creates contrast, and contrast is the language of desire. Applying this requires maturity, not justifying absence as failure, not rewarding neutral behavior with excessive validation, not responding to everything as if always available. The man who leads emotionally does not explain every movement. He does not feel guilty for having his own life. He does not use attention as a bargaining chip. He offers it by choice and withdraws it when balance requires adjustment. This is where many fail, by copying behavior without the internal state. Without a base, withdrawal becomes rejection. Without presence, it becomes a game. Without value, it becomes empty silence. What truly works is understanding the mechanism behind emotional tension and applying it with ethics, clarity, and control. That is exactly what the Code of Seduction teaches. A structured method to use emotional tension strategically without cruelty, manipulation, or loss of respect. Real psychology, value dynamics, and female behavior translated into precise actions. Access is in the description link in the pinned comment. When you understand the mechanism, discomfort disappears. What remains is mastery. Topic 3. When the trick works and when it destroys everything. There is an invisible boundary separating strategic tension from silent rejection. Few men see this boundary because they apply the trick without building anything first. Withdrawing attention without presence becomes emptiness. Absence without meaning does not generate desire, it generates dismissal. The trick only works when the foundation already exists, when there is something real being withdrawn. Without a base, there is no tension. There is only dead silence. Behavioral foundations explain why this happens. Research by David Buss shows women respond to men with consistent value, not to chaotic games. Consistency does not mean total availability. It means internal coherence. The man who alternates presence and absence without an axis communicates instability. The man who steps back while maintaining the same state communicates choice, and choice is interpreted as value. Here is the break that dismantles many frustrated attempts. The trick does not create attraction from nothing. It amplifies what already exists. If there is presence, direction, and stability, withdrawal creates focus. If none of that exists, withdrawal only confirms irrelevance. That is why centered men can step back without losing respect. They do not disappear out of insecurity. They step back because they have life, purpose, and access. Their distance does not sound like abandonment. It sounds like autonomy. Observe real examples. Men who sustain posture, rhythm, and emotional clarity can reduce attention without explanation and still maintain interest. The environment understands that this man is not available by default. He is available by choice. This difference changes everything, and the woman does not feel discarded. She feels she needs to decide whether she wants to follow. The game stops being passive comfort and becomes active choice. Practical application requires correct order. First, build presence. Presence that is felt in body, gaze, and cadence. Second, establish direction. Direction that organizes meetings, conversations, and transitions without asking for validation. Third, consolidate emotional stability. Only after that does the reduction of attention happen naturally, not as a forced strategy. It occurs as a consequence of a life that does not revolve around pleasing. When a man respects this order, the trick stops seeming cruel and becomes elegant. He does not withdraw attention to create impact. He simply does not distribute it without criteria. This selectivity communicates something deep. I do not lose myself. I do not beg. I do not dissolve. Desire responds because it recognizes emotional maturity. It is not distance that attracts. It is the man who can step back without losing himself. Conclusion: it is not cruelty. It is self-mastery. There comes a point when a man must face the truth without anesthesia. What attracts is not pleasing. What attracts is sustaining oneself without asking for emotional permission. The trick works not because it hurts, ignores, or manipulates. It works because it reveals something few people can sustain: autonomy. When a man withdraws attention without fear, guilt, or explanation, he communicates independence from the bond. Dependence is the greatest enemy of desire. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of power as internal control, not the submission of others. This applies perfectly here. The powerful man does not need to trap anyone. He does not force presence, demand reciprocity, or negotiate value. He remains whole even when he steps back. This wholeness is felt as strength, not arrogance, but solidity. Female desire responds to this solidity because it recognizes safety and direction. The trick is not ignoring women. It is not losing yourself in them, not dissolving your own life, rhythm, and axis in exchange for acceptance. Women feel desire for men who do not beg, over-explain, or justify boundaries. Withdrawing attention without fear is not punishment. It protects your center. Protecting your center is the prerequisite of real magnetism. The game changes when you realize you do not need to be chosen. You can leave, not as a threat or blackmail, but as a real possibility. This possibility changes everything. It reorganizes the dynamic. It transforms comfort into tension, predictability into interest, habit into desire. This is not learned with ready-made phrases. It is built with method, repetition, and deep understanding of the female mind, and understanding your own mind. That is why the code of seduction exists, not as isolated tricks, but as complete training. Training in female psychology, emotional tension, male magnetism, and silent leadership. Advanced, structured, and ethical techniques that require emotional maturity. These techniques do not circulate on the common internet because they require emotional maturity to be applied. Access is in the description link in the pinned comment. From here, the choice is simple. Continue trying to be accepted, or develop the self-mastery that makes desire respond without asking. Mastery creates attraction naturally. Desire responds to independence, internal control, and consistency. The man who sustains himself without fear or need transforms the dynamic. Comfort becomes tension, predictability becomes interest, and habit becomes desire. This is the essence of strategic emotional leadership. It is not manipulation, cruelty, or absence for its own sake. It is self-mastery expressed. When applied correctly, it organizes attention, desire, and emotional investment naturally and ethically. The Code of Seduction teaches this full method, not tricks, but mastery over attraction and emotional dynamics. It is the difference between being a man who pleases and a man who naturally inspires desire. Self-mastery replaces fear with autonomy and attention with intentionality. That is the final step, becoming a man who is fully present to himself and thus magnetic to others.